Hello, it's Tom from Lone Horizons, and we're back with Dungeon Crawl Classics Solo Dyson's Delve. But this time round, we're doing a bit of a different kind of episode. It's going to be a bit more laid back, a bit of a slower pace, as we're going to be doing some hex mapping of the local area around the village and the dungeon, so that we can send out some kind of B-team adventurers, level 0 characters in between delves, or while the delves are going on, and we can get them leveling up so that they won't be completely useless if more of our main characters get killed and they have to be replaced. So to do this, as you can see, I've made a start already. This is a very small hex paper, unfortunately, the grid on this hex paper, because that was like basically, if you've done hex mapping before, you have to be able to fit a certain amount of them onto the paper for it to be any use, really. So I couldn't do like a huge YouTube video friendly version, but I can zoom in on it and things. So yeah, I've made a start here with the village, and the way we're going to continue this is by using the hex crawling rules from Scarlet Heroes, which is, I think, my favorite solo RPG. I mean, it's a group RPG as well, but it has solo rules. We're going to be using that for the mapping, and then for populating dungeons and lairs and things like that, we are going to make use of Basic Fantasy and my zine, Hexcrawl Horrors, that I did a video on a while ago. Because Basic Fantasy has tons of really good classic monsters in the bestiary, which will be perfect, and really good treasure tables, which Dungeon Crawl Classics doesn't even include. We might use the treasure tables from this or from Scarlet Heroes, I don't know. We'll mix and match probably, because one thing about solo RPGs is, as it's only you can just make things up as you go along a lot of the time, hand wave things, and do what gives you the most amount of fun without worrying about being consistent, basically. So anyway, yeah, I thought what we'd do is we generate the terrain around here. We'll just go out kind of around, like petals around a flower, out and out, revealing some lairs, some features, and some dungeons, I think. And I guess I'll just I won't go through the rules to begin with, I'll just encounter them as we go. So in that case, let's get started with Scarlet Heroes Wilderness Adventures section. This has, at the back of the book, it's got like Wilderness Adventures, Urban Adventures, and Dungeon Adventures. And all three of those sections would be really useful for any fantasy solo RPG you were playing. You could just mix and match with that. So, we are not playing as a party exploring and, encountering events like our horses getting their legs broken and things like that. We're just going to be determining terrain types. So, let's start with this hex here, and determine that terrain type. Roll 1d8, starting from the hex immediately above the one the hero has just entered. Count clockwise around the hex a number of steps equal to the die roll. Assign the new hex the same terrain type found in that space. If it's unexplored, which it will be because we're doing this one, and that will be, the one above, or the die roll is greater than 6, roll on the terrain type table to randomly determine it. Okay, so we will roll and count clockwise around from there. So the one above, I think we'll say like the northeast one. Let's go with that. Okay, 1. That's easy. I didn't even need to roll, did I? Because we knew it was going to be unexplored. So we will roll on the terrain type table. The village here is in grassland plains. So I'm just going to do some probably really inconsistent symbols for blades of grass. Inconsistent meaning they'll probably change a lot as we go on with the map, because I'm not very good at drawing nice little neat symbols. Okay, so terrain types, you roll a d10 and let's get rid of that for the moment. I'll put that over there. We are going with a temperate environment because I'm imagining, Western Europe, medieval Western Europe style generic fantasy for our game. So let's roll. 1. Just more planes. Okay, so more planes. Do we get a feature? So let's see. We're not going to do encounters and events, although we will come back to this. Check for features. Roll 1d8. If the feature is equal or less than the feature threshold, you discover a feature. So the feature threshold starts at 1, and we're using this die as a counter for it. And each time you roll over it, it increases by 1. When you find a feature, it resets to 1. Okay, so unless we roll a 1 on this d8, we are going to find nothing. We rolled a 6. So, that is nothing, and the threshold increases to 2. What I am going to do, it mentions random encounters in the rules, and I think because sometimes in old school games you find lairs of monsters when you're hex crawling, and there are rules on like treasure troves for lairs and how many monsters of each type you encounter in a lair. I think we are going to roll a d6 as if we're rolling for random encounters, but for each empty featureless hex we will roll a d6, and if it's, if we roll a 1 in 6 chance, it's going to be a lair, and we'll find out what kind of lair that will be. Okay, nothing. So this one is just planes. There we go. That's our blades of grass. Okay, so then we'll just keep going clockwise out in a kind of circular spiral pattern, I suppose. So here we go, the next one. Move these out of the way. Let's do this. So the one immediately above, what were these rules again? Starting from the hex immediately above the one the hero has just entered, count clockwise around the hex number of steps equal to the die roll. Oh yeah, assign the new hex the same terrain type found in that space. Okay, that is a 6. So 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6. Is that right? Hang on. So it's this one, right? No, it's this one, right? So the one immediately above, we said that was northeast one. So 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6. Oh, it's that. Okay, so it's unexplored. So we will roll on the terrain type table, I think. Let me just double check that. Yeah. Okay. So I think the last time I did hex crawling in a solo RPG, I was using a supplement for basic fantasy, not Scarlet Heroes, which is why I'm having trouble remembering how this works. Okay, so we'll just roll randomly on the terrain type table using a d10. 6. Again, that is forest hills. Okay, forested hills. I'm not going to draw it yet because I'm going to roll for the feature to see if there's a feature yet, and then we'll draw the feature in if there is. Okay, so you roll a d8 for the for the feature. That is 8, so we did not roll 2 or under. That means there's nothing, and this threshold increases to 3, and this is just plain forested hills. But we will roll also, hang on, I'm going to do trees looking like this, because we need to be able to like draw quickly and not spend ages drawing, so we can get through this. And that is a number 1. I'll put a circle around it there because that relates to this, our key or our legend. Okay, and then last thing for this hex is there a lair there? No, there is no lair. Okay. All right. So the next one will be this one. So starting from here, we count clockwise around there for the D8. That is 4. So 1, 2, 3, 4. So we will roll on the table again. 8. Mountains. Wow. This is quite random, this place. Okay, so mountains. Is there a feature? That is a 1. So we've rolled under the feature threshold. So yes, there is a feature. And that threshold resets to 1. Okay. So let's see. Types of features. Roll a D8 and then a D10. Okay, so what is it? That is a 5. So 5 to 6, it's a structure. And the D10 is a 2. It's a cemetery. A mountain cemetery. That's weird. Yeah, interesting. Okay. Strange. Okay. So how are we going to draw that? I guess I'm just going to write, you know what? I'm just going to write cemetery on it. We're making this up as we go along, remember? Oh, I've spelled it wrong. Hang on. And if we think of a neater way of doing this, we can always change the map later. So here are the mountains. And I'll just draw like some gravestones. I guess it's a cemetery at the foot of the mountains. Some kind of maybe holy mountain range, or one holy mountain that was sacred to some long lost civilization that used to occupy this area, and that's where they buried their dead. Okay, so moving on to this hex, we will roll for that. 4, so that would be 1, 2, 3, 4. That's unexplored. So we will roll again. 1, so that's more plains, yeah. Okay, plains. Is there a feature? No. Increase the feature threshold. Is there a lair? No. Okay, so just empty plains. And then this one. Okay, so 3. So that's 1, 2, 3. That is plains. Okay. And then is there a feature? No. Increase that by 1. Is there a lair? No. Now, I was thinking the other day, I think we should put a city on the map, which is close enough for them to travel to within like a day's walk or something, because, and this is the reason, the On Downtime and Domains book has a lot of really interesting downtime activities that characters can do in a city, but don't make sense to do in a village. So I wanted them to have easy access to a city for that reason. So I am going to put one here. And so I will put, as this is a feature that they can do stuff with, they can interact with. Hex 2 will be the city. How should we draw that? It's basically loads and loads of houses, isn't it? Oh dear, it's going badly wrong. It doesn't matter. You know, we're not releasing this on Drivethru RPG as a hex map region for adventuring in. We could flesh it out one day and do that, but not for now. And this is going to be, I'm just going to write city. It's just going to be called the city. because, you know, this place, this country, is full of just brainless peasants, basically. They just think of their own village as being called the village and the nearby city as being called the city. That's the extent of their culture, basically. Okay, so there we go. We've done that. So where should we move on to next? Maybe this one, and then keep going around. So here we go. We will roll the D8 on this one. 2. Okay, so we'll count from here. 1, 2, nothing. So roll on here. That is more planes. Okay. And is there a feature on these planes? Maybe when there's a feature, it should include a lair. Maybe we should say that this whole place is infested with monsters and it's very likely to have a lair. That would mean the cemetery would have one. So let's just finish doing this and then we'll roll for that. Because remember, we're just going to change up the rules as we go to make it more fun and to give our B team characters more opportunities to level up. So we'll finish this hex now. A 1. Yes, there is a feature here as well. Okay, so this resets back to 1. And we will roll for the feature. So what was that? It was a D8 and a D10, so we can roll at the same time, actually. So the D8 is 6. That is a structure, and the D10 is 5. That is a monument. Oh, interesting. Yeah, so it's an ancient monument which has some kind of monster camp sprung up around it and needs to be cleared out because it's maybe it's a war memorial or something like that, and it's very important to the people of the city. And it's just outside the city actually, so they're not happy about it being there. Okay, so we will draw the monument first. Let's make it like an obelisk of some kind, like that. There we go. And this needs a number. Oh no, I was doing the numbers at the top, but there's not going to be enough room there. See, this is why I'm so bad at this. Let's just rub this out. Let's try and keep it as consistent as we can. So this is hex number. Well, this would be. This is the third one. Yeah, this can be 3 and that can be 4. So that is hex number 3. It has a monument in the plains. And also some kind of lair of monsters. We'll figure out what the lair is first. Okay, so I stopped and thought for a few minutes, and I think with lairs, because lairs aren't dungeons, they don't have traps and things in them. They're literally like a cave with a small tribe of monsters like orcs or something living in it, or a little family of, I don't know, basilisks or whatever living there, not like a kind of cave network or, multi-leveled dungeon or something like that. So we're just going to roll on the terrain type on Hexcrawl Horrors. So the terrain type is plains, and we will roll a D100 here. And see what monsters we get. 99! Oh my god, what is that? Giant badgers. Wow, okay. They're in Field Guide 1, page 9. Okay, giant badgers. We don't need to look them up, But, yeah, that's quite crazy. Okay, so giant badger. Badgers live underground, don't they? So let's say there's like a couple of little holes, well, big holes actually, in the plains here. Say it's just like 3 holes in the ground in these plains around the war memorial. And yeah, they're full of giant badgers that need killing. So I'm going to make an entry on our list for this. So hex number 3, we'll call it the war memorial, not the monument, as we've fleshed that out ourselves now. War memorial. giant badger lair. And shall we see if they have treasure? Why don't we actually just roll up the giant badgers and see how many there are and stuff? So Field Guide 1, page 9. Here it is for basic fantasy. Yeah, giant badger. Let's see. Number appearing 1d4. Oh, there's not a different number for their lair. Okay. And treasure, none. Okay. Well, let's just for the sake of it, let's find out how many there are. There's 4 of them. Okay, giant badger lair. I'll just put 4 in brackets. No treasure. All right. So that's what's there. So that could be cleared out by the B team when they get around to it. The cemetery could be hex number 4. Here we go. Let's roll on there. So the cemetery is in the mountains. Yeah, and we said we were just gonna roll on the Hex Crawl Horrors table for that. So let's see what that is. Mountains. There are some tough monsters on here for mountains. Okay, D100 roll. 30. Wild rams. Okay. Well, they might not even be hostile, you know. Field Guide 1, page 60. A lair of wild rams. But they are infesting a cemetery. Let's see. Number appearing wild 2d4. No treasure. I don't know if they really need to be killed. 6 of them. All right, so hex 4 cemetery. Oh, I've spelled it wrong again. Wild ram lair. They're just normal rams, aren't they? 6 of them. No treasure. Just animals, basically. Well, they you know, they don't have to be killed. They could be killed and harvested for their meat and pelts, I suppose. But anyway, if we carry on going, because we haven't actually found a dungeon yet, unfortunately. So going around here, let's go to this hex next. So 4. That is 1, 2, 3, 4 planes again. And get the Scarlet Heroes rules. Is there a feature on these planes? No. Is there a lair? No. Okay, that's fine. Just more planes. Okay, so then this one. 5. So 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. Is it just all going to be planes? Oh, it's if you roll 6 or over or something? No, greater than 6 or the rolled hex is unexplored. Then you get a chance to change up the terrain type. So that is planes there. Is there a feature? No. And then, what was the other thing? A lair roll. No, no lair. So just more empty planes. Okay, so at this point, I think, why don't you rejoin me after I've filled in a few more of these hexes and I'll go through any features I find with you. Okay, so as you can see, I carried on generating the hex map around the village and the city, and I got a few more features and one dungeon, interestingly. So I stopped there. I think that's enough to be getting on with. So if I go through the features that I generated and the numbered hexes, so where did we get up to? We got up to the wild ram lair in the cemetery. So then hex number 5, that said river ford. And as it was a river ford, I thought, well, there must be a river that goes through the map. So I drew it, and then I just kind of filled in the rest of the river myself. I didn't bother rolling randomly for it or anything like that. I just drew it. And at the river ford, there is a Rousseau lair. There's 6 Rousseaus. They are massive rodents, and they're on page 63 of Field Guide 1. And I just want to show you that because it's got a really good picture of them, which I think you'll like. There they are. That's what a Rousseau is. The Rousseau is a massive rodent-like creature. Its stout body stands nearly shoulder height to most men. Like rodents, it has large front teeth and powerful jaws that it uses for biting through wood and defense. So I thought those were quite funny. Then what did we get here? Oh, yeah, hex number 6, forested hills that have a loop lair. So loops are from Basic Fantasy as well. There's 7 loops there. They are monstrous wolves. They're like a bit like dire wolves, but they're more like an actual monster than an animal. None of these have had any treasure according to the rules yet. So then hex 7, that thing there is supposed to be a rock with kind of minerals embedded in it. So that is minerals in forested hills. There's a pixie lair with 30 pixies living there. So there's some like enchanted gems and minerals embedded in the natural rock formations in this forest, and there's a little colony of pixies. So that's quite funny. They do have treasure, and I've just written down the treasure trove type, which is R and also S in the Basic Fantasy rules. So if we clear out 30 pixies from that lair, it seems unlikely. They'll probably just all get turned into frogs, the adventurers that go there and try and do that. But if they're able to do that, then we'll roll on the treasure table. And I think what we're going to do is we're going to get them to share like 10% of their treasure with the Adventurers Guild that we've created. I think that's a fair guild fee for them to pay. I don't think 50%, I don't think that would be good. I think it would just make us too rich too quickly. Anyway, yeah, so that's an interesting one. 30 pixies that live among the enchanted minerals in the woods. And then hex number 8, that is a natural fort. Now we have these in the UK, and I think it's basically like a kind of hill formation that is naturally defensible. Like maybe it's a hill with a flat top or something. So in the Iron Age, I think people went and built on them or just lived on them, put their settlements on top of them because they could be defended easily. But this one is in a light forest, and there's a giant ant lair inside it. I guess they've burrowed into the hillside there. There's 15 giant ants living there, and they do have treasure, which is interesting considering they're animals. Then this is a really interesting one. Hex number 9, which is next to the city. I generated a ruined city as a feature. And it's infested with lemures, and they're from Basic Fantasy. They are damned souls inhabiting wretched bodies. So I thought because that ruined city is next to our city, that could be like the old town that no one goes into. It's all barricaded off because it's infected with a demonic presence, which has created all these lemurs. The old residents from hundreds of years ago are still there in the ruins, wandering around, going, and desperately attacking anyone who comes in, trying to steal their souls. So that could be a good place to be cleared out, couldn't it? And then the city could reclaim the ruins. And that could even be a quest that the city would pay us money to do. Who knows? There's 20 lemurs there, and they don't have any treasure, so that will have to be quite a tough one to deal with. And then the dungeon, finally. The dungeon I generated is a ruined mansion out in the eastern grasslands, quite far from the city and the village. But this ruined mansion is home to necromancers. I rolled a d4 to see how many floors there would be for the dungeon, because I thought, they could do one floor at a time and get XP based on how many floors they've cleared out. But I only rolled a 1 anyway. And treasure type, I chose myself Minor Ruins Wealth from the Scarlet Heroes Treasure Troves section, which is really good actually. If I show you this. Treasures beyond price. All these trove types. It's really good for just on the fly generating treasures based on what kind of dungeon you're in. So here we've got say peasant family savings. Say your players have just raided a peasant hut and killed the inhabitants because they're murder hobos on a rampage or something. You've got 1d6 times 10 gold pieces worth of copper and a few silver coins, 1d6 cheap clothes, 1d3 cheap jewelry belonging to the wife. It's really, really cruel, this game sometimes. And then you've got things like minor hidden treasure, mage's concealed cache, overlooked trifle, minor ruins wealth I made. And it goes all the way down to a mandarin's ransom, 2d4 times 10,000 gold. Wow, amazing. But yeah, that's why I love using Scarlet Heroes, because it's just so detailed and you get these really interesting results that you can work into the plot of your games. So that is the map, and we're not going to try and recruit any level 0 peasants to be our adventurers for the Adventurers Guild yet. We're going to do that next time, I think, because Cater has to spend some time doing that, and we need to figure out which rules we're going to use for finding out how many hapless peasants she can hire per day or per week. It's probably going to be per week realistically, so that we don't get too many of them too soon. But anyway, here's our map, and yeah, try it yourself. Maybe if you've got maybe a hex crawl campaign going on in your game, in your solo game, you could try starting an Adventurers Guild and sending characters out as a backup team, and seeing if they can get treasure and level up just by not role playing out the whole thing with every dice roll, but rolling on each adventurer's highest stat, doing a check on whatever their highest stat is, and if they pass it, then that will be them using that stat to make it through the encounter alive. Anyway, yeah, I will see you next time with some more gameplay. Bye for now.